Hey, Jason here, head coach of Strength Running and host of the Strength Running podcast. Last week I published a video talking about 7 ways to reinvigorate your 2021. Different ideas to help you think about what races to run, how to structure your training. In other words, how to keep things interesting, how to keep things moving forward so that you're doing new things, you have some variety in your training, and that your progress, your performances are progressing. They are getting better. And I want to continue that series today and talk a little bit more about new things that you could potentially do in your training to keep the ball rolling. And I want to get started with one of my personal favorites because it's just something I like to do. And also, I've seen how powerful it is for adult runners, and that is doubling down on the long run. Now, I had probably one of my favorite conversations on the Strength Running podcast with Coach David Roche about everything long runs. We talked about why you should do them, how frequently you should do them, the benefits of regular long runs, how to structure them. You can check it out on the podcast, but the idea here is there are so many benefits. And I think for most runners, especially if you started running later in life, your number one limiter, the thing that is slowing you down the most, is simply a lack of endurance. And so if we can work on your endurance, you're going to get a lot faster. And the side benefit there is endurance work is generally a little bit less risky than a lot of hard workouts, speed development, and that kind of thing. So let's double down on our long runs. The long run, probably the best way to build endurance, the single workout that is the most effective. And the long run is something that I think most runners should be doing every single week. And if you can get to the point where your long run is consistently in the double digits, 10 miles or more, about 16 kilometers or more, then you're going to be building capacity to do some really great things in your running. And I also think it gives you more flexibility. So if you can comfortably run 10 miles, you could go run a half marathon this weekend. You don't really have to spend too much time getting ready for the distance of the race. You can also pretty much jump right into a marathon training plan if you'd like to run a marathon in, say, 4 or 5 months. And so a consistent long run not only gets you in really good shape, but it also puts you in the position where you can go train for more things. So if you're not running a long run every week, if you are not making a real effort to consistently do a double-digit long run, I think this is a great opportunity to do so, and the benefits are just so clear, you're going to be so much better for it. My second idea is actually my favorite injury prevention strategy, and that is, nope, not strength training, training appropriately. Now, that sounds very broad, it sounds very vague in general, but if you've ever followed a really poor training plan, then you know that you weren't training appropriately. Proper training has sound progressions of mileage, of workouts, of long runs, and all of that also is appropriate for you, and it's appropriate for the race distance that you're training for. So for example, if you're 12 weeks out from a marathon, you probably shouldn't be running a bunch of 400s on the track at 5K pace. So that's what I mean by proper training. Are the workouts specific to your fitness level and your ability? Are they also specific to the goal race that you're training for? And are they specific to where in the season you are? So if you're 3 months out from a marathon, I'd much rather you be doing a tempo run than a series of 200s or 400s on the track at some interval-based pace. So we have to make sure that our training is sound, that it's structured properly, that the distribution of effort throughout the week is spaced appropriately, rather than on condensing all that work, on the weekend. If you're a weekend warrior, the injury risk there is substantially higher. So if you've never followed a sound training plan before, then I think this is a great opportunity for you to do so. You're going to feel a lot better, which is probably one of the biggest benefits of proper training. It just manages your energy, it manages your soreness and fatigue levels, but it also manages your performance. You'll become a better runner for it. Now, tip number 3 is to improve your lifestyle. Now, I had an amazing conversation with Christy Ashwandon, who wrote Good to Go on the podcast, and this book is all about recovery. It's about the science of recovery. And nothing is more important for your recovery than your lifestyle. How much are you sleeping every night? Are you trying to reduce stress in your life wherever possible? Are you eating a sound diet? And are you trying to find areas in your life where you can just relax, where you can spend time with friends and family, connect with them, and really unwind and unplug? Those are the biggest things that you can do in your training, in your life, to really prioritize recovery. It's not the fancy shakes that you can buy, and it's not the foam roller and all the other things that we think about when we think about recovery. Those things can be important and they can be fun to use. They can be used properly in a training cycle and in a workout, but they're not the most important. The most important are all the basics, the fundamentals that aren't very sexy, but that actually deliver real results to us. So if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, if you're super stressed at your job, if you're really having a hard time connecting with people and relaxing, then these are some areas in your life that you can work on. You'll get more space to run, recover, train hard, and give emotionally to the sport. And that's what improvement is all about. You're giving yourself the space to improve, and you're creating the environment in which improvement can happen. Tip 4 now is to run more short races. And I'm a big proponent of running a lot of short races. I think they're relatively easy to do compared with, say, a marathon. You can recover from them quickly, and for those reasons, you can run them more frequently. And so anything from the 5K and shorter, I'll say maybe 8K and shorter, I love the 8K, is a great distance for you to develop more speed. And one of the reasons why we want to do this is because racing is a skill. And if we can race more frequently, we are going to further develop that skill of racing. And these short races, it doesn't take a month to recover from a 5K like it does a marathon. So you can run them more frequently. You can experiment with different racing strategies. You're giving yourself more opportunities to improve. You're running workouts that are more specific to these shorter race distances, and you're just running a lot faster because of it. Those are skill-based opportunities for you to improve. If you're just running a marathon twice a year, I don't think you're giving yourself those opportunities. The opportunities to run really fast, to race frequently, and to design all the training around that will help you improve. So run some more short races, get really comfortable being uncomfortable, go out really fast, go out slow and try to negative split it. That's the fun of this. You get to experiment. And at the end of the day, they will definitely help your longer race distance ambitions. So if you'd really like to get fast in the marathon, don't think that taking a season off to focus on the 5K is going to hurt your marathon goals. You might just set a whole slew of new PRs, get a lot faster and stronger, and that is certainly going to help your marathon goals too. Tip number 5, our penultimate tip, is to learn more about running. I know I've said it here, I say it almost every podcast episode, but knowledge is a competitive advantage. The more you know, the better decisions you'll make, the more you'll understand the training process, the fewer training errors you'll make, and that makes you into a better runner. So I want to encourage you to invest in your running, whether that's hiring a coach, whether it's buying a running book, taking a course. Maybe you go and get a coaching certification yourself, which is a phenomenal learning experience, and it really does connect you to the running community. Finally, tip number 6. How many are we on? We're on 6. Tip 6. I gotta number these. Tip number 6 is to learn from other runners. Surround yourself with support. Now, it's a little bit hard right now with the pandemic, of course, but this is our ideal scenario. This is what we can strive for. Ideally, it would be phenomenal for you to have multiple mentors, older runners who have more experience than you, faster runners who just have more talent than you, runners who tend to work really hard, and they can inspire you and motivate you to train really hard. For me, I think being surrounded by talent that far eclipsed my own was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. When I was on a college team running cross country, indoor track and outdoor track, I loved having my teammates just hand me my ass in races because it gave me something to motivate myself with. I wanted to beat my friends in races, even though they usually beat me. And not only is a great motivator, but you start to learn from these runners too. And you don't necessarily have to be next to them to learn from them. You just need a space where you can share running stories, you can ask questions. Maybe you're having an issue that you're not really sure what to do, or if you have a problem that you need solved. Other runners who have experience, who are better than you, who might have a lot to offer, can really be your lifeline in these situations. And the idea of positive peer pressure is very real. They will peer pressure you into training more, into setting bigger goals, into thinking bigger about your running. And I don't think there's anything more exciting than that. Now, because this is the year of taking action, I want to give you some actionable ways that you can take action on some of the pieces of advice that we talked about in this video. So number one, if you want to train appropriately, follow a good training plan. Number two, if you want to sleep a lot, if you want to improve your sleep quality, forget about your morning alarm and set an evening alarm. That is your to go to bed alarm. I've done this and I continue to do this. It's set for 10:15 every night. And I know that if I listen to that alarm, my day the next day is a lot better. Number three, register for a virtual race or get a couple friends to do a time trial with you for a short event. Maybe it's a 5K, maybe it's a 2K, maybe it's a 3K, a mile, a 2 mile, a 1500. It almost doesn't matter. But do more short races and get some friends to put one on the calendar. Next, buy a book about running. Buy a book about running just to learn more about it. It can be a technical training book, or it can just be a book that inspires you and tells stories about elite runners and their journey. I think those are really valuable too. And whatever gets you to think more about the sport, to think more about your own training, I think is super valuable. And then finally, let's surround ourselves with other runners. Right now, that's really hard to do in person. So you can find an online group, a virtual group. You can participate in online summits and different video conferences that are being held. Or you could join the strength running community, and that would make me really happy because then I actually get to coach you one-on-one. So if you're interested in that, go learn about Team Strength Running at strengthrunning.com/join. This is our group coaching program where I'm your coach. You have a team of other runners to support, to talk to share your stories. And it's just a great way to be more involved in the running community, to make sure that you're training appropriately, and also just to get any question that you have answered when you have it. I hope you check it out, and I hope this video was helpful as we continue our series on the year of taking action. Our second idea is our action. Yes, I talk a lot for work.